Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Witch in the City. My name is Ernest D. Cornish, and I am Witch in the City. Welcome to my home. So today's episode, we're going to take a look at the Book of Shadows. What is the Book of Shadows, and what's it used for? Well, today's episode is dedicated to the Book of Shadows. Let's get started, shall we? So the Book of Shadows was used for a journal, per se. It was also used to communicate with ancestors down the road, because the Book of Shadows would be passed on through your bloodline. And the Book of Shadows would also be kept as a sacred element into your witchcraft. So the Book of Shadows is the perfect way to communicate with ancestors, because the fact is that when you journal in the Book of Shadows of what you've experienced or what you have done or what you have created to get rid of that thing or help that thing move on to another world, then you have the Book of Shadows to help you in that way. Book of Shadows is kind of a spell book, per se, with a lot of your own stuff. Not other people's stuff, but a lot of your own stuff. So you want to make sure your Book of Shadows is written in a way that it is for you and not for anyone else. So if you're finding a spell that you like to use and you think that it may be an opportunity for you to actually get your Book of Shadows started, then just use your own words. So change some stuff and change for what you need it to be. So you want your Book of Shadows catered and textured to you. So my Book of Shadows is a lot about Ku in the first few pages, because when I put my altar up for the first time, Ku was very fascinated, and I couldn't figure out why. I had no idea why Ku would be fascinated with an altar that just exists on, in back of me. So Ku would actually he was very curious. He was very nosy about what was going on. So I wrote a lot about that in the Book of Shadows, because I felt that, my ancestors or whoever gets my Book of Shadows down the road may have a bearded dragon, or might have a cat, or may have a dog that's very curious about their altar. And what does it mean, and what should you do about it? Well, those kind of things are in your Book of Shadows, because that's, stuff that you might use in the future. So when I started my Book of Shadows, I actually started with a cleansing spell, because I didn't know too much about cleansing your home or cleansing your altar or your space. So I ended up tailoring mine to a very simple cleansing spell, and I catered it to my needs. So I catered it to my needs and made sure that the cleansing spell was for me and not for anyone else. It was tailored to what my experiences were and what I did to make sure that my home and my altar was cleansed in the proper way. And I did a lot of reading before I actually started writing in my Book of Shadows, and I actually have two Book of Shadows. My first Book of Shadows is just a notebook. Here somewhere. There it is. So I went to the dollar store and got a one subject notebook. That is all I used for the beginning of my Book of Shadows. And I actually put Book of Shadows Cornish in there, as you can see. And I made a pentagram. I'm no artist. Zero artist. So I started out, and I actually started my Book of Shadows with a lot of stuff that I learned from online. and then I adapted it when I wrote it into my Book of Shadows. I adapted what I wanted in the book, and I took out words that I didn't need. My Book of Shadows, excuse me, sits here to the left of the altar and left of the air. And everyone recognizes the Book of Shadows. It's this is the cover is the Book of Shadows from Charmed, but inside it is nothing but blank pages that you can write on. So it's kind of cool. So yeah, so my first spell per se in my Book of Shadows was smudging and cleaning or cleansing. And exactly, I labeled down the steps, each step and what to say. And then I went into crystals, because I started collecting crystals and I wanted to make sure I had the right crystals that I needed and what I wanted. And then, again, the entries about Ku. I would show you what I wrote in the Book of Shadows, but I'm kind of private when it comes to that. Because this is my Bible, and this is what I go by, and when it comes to different things, and I'm adding it to it every day, and I'm very excited about this Book of Shadows. And I don't know who in my bloodline will get this Book of Shadows, but I'm hoping it's someone that will cherish it just as much as I have, and that I do. So, again, your Book of Shadows kind of goes hand to hand with you personally and what your experiences and your journaling is, and then everyone has seen the great Book of Shadows, the Book of Shadows on Charmed, the Three Sisters, the Halliwell's Book of Shadows, and I have a replica of that, and we'll take a look at that as well as I talk. But the inside that Book of Shadows is a lot more demonized. It's a lot more demons, a lot more dealing with crossing realms and stuff like that. My Book of Shadows is not near that way. My Book of Shadows is more healing and cleansing me, and healing and cleansing family and friends and stuff like that. So totally different from what we are used to seeing on TV. But the Book of Shadows from Charmed is I do have the replica, and it is amazing. And this is some of the pages that you're going to see in the next few frames here. Beautiful artwork, beautiful just drawings and stuff that was laid out throughout the years. And of course, I have drawings in mine. I'm gonna simply show you a quick drawing of mine. Horrible, isn't it? Compared to the Book of Shadows that you see on TV. So, so a spell. Let's do a spell. Say you find a spell that you want to use, and it's a healing or a love spell, and you're not sure if the wording is correct for you. And that's where you go ahead and you change it. You write it down in your journal. And again, I write it down in here before I put it in here. And basically what I would do is I would write down the spell, how to chant it, and what you need, your ingredients and all that kind of stuff. And then once you have all that labeled out, then you look at it as, well, what is this going to do for me? And that's when you really want to take a look at your Book of Shadows and say, I want to tailor this for me. So what I do is I take the spell itself from wherever I got it, whatever source I got it from, and then I change wording, I change whatever needs to be changed to surface for me. So, again, you want to make sure that your Book of Shadows is tailored to you. and not tailored for any other purpose than your knowledge and your ancestors' knowledge down the road. So, say in about 100 years from now, I'll be long gone, hopefully. Otherwise, I'd be 150, and I don't even know what that would look like. But anyways, 100 years from now, someone took this Book of Shadows that I have and tried to do one of these spells that I have inside it, and maybe it doesn't work for them. And then they have to really sit and think that maybe the spell didn't work because it was tailored to me. It wasn't tailored to anyone else but me. So they really have to look at the transparent overview of a spell, and that spell needs to be tailored to them. And it needs to be personalized in a way that they can actually have it work for them. Because all spells are just illuminations of the mind, and illuminations that you get over time. And when you meditate, your illuminations become real, right? Well, they're supposed to come real. Anyways, if you believe, they will. If you don't believe, they won't. And that's one of the big things that we need to focus on. We need to focus on the fact that what's real and what's not real. So, the Book of Shadows that Charm used was just a beautiful collection of paintings and sayings and different things throughout the book. It's a beautiful book, beautiful and huge. The replica is not as big. It's a little bit condensed because they're not old floppy pages, and you can actually, it's a little bit nicer, but I still love the Book of Shadows. I think it's amazing. I look at it once in a while and go, wow, they had a lot to fight with and a lot to deal with, because we don't have that here to deal with, but they did. So we look at it that way as well. So my suggestion is, when you make your Book of Shadows, start with a notebook. Write it down, because you're going to make mistakes. You're going to have cross-outs. You're going to have ugliness. You're going to have just things all over the place, and you're not going to know what it really means until you put it all together. So buy a notebook. These are $1 at the dollar store. So it's a one-subject notebook. It's plenty big, and you can just, if you run out of room, you go buy a new one. And then once you're ready, then you put it in your Book of Shadows. You want to make sure that you transfer it into your Book of Shadows, so that the Book of Shadows that you have that sits on the altar, it is a collection of you. And it's a collection of your spells and a collection of your doings, and not someone else's. So you can use spells that other people have created, sure. But if it doesn't work, cater it to you. Cater the words to you. Transparent the words in a way that it will work for you. So that way, your Book of Shadows is yours, and it's your personal guide into the world of witchcraft and the world of Wicked. I love my Book of Shadows, and I have it on my altar. I don't usually take it off much. So the Book of Shadows sits to the left of the air. So the element air sits on the east side of your altar, and then the Book of Shadows sits left of the air. And then it's the far east, a corner of your altar. And I have my pen on top of it, and I have my feather on top, and my wand sits right next to it. So I make sure that it's all there all the time. And it's just a good practice, and I've read that is where it is supposed to be anyway, so that's why I put it where it is. So a few things coming up. Mabon, September 21st, which is Monday. I can't wait. It's so exciting. The altar, my altar, is all set, and this place looks a lot orange. And it's just going to be a lot of fun. And it's the harvest. It's the end of the harvest. It's the crone is entering our space and giving us energy at this time. The crone is welcomed to your home, welcome to your altar. So you want to make sure that you're praising her. As she enters your area and enters your life. The crone, remember, is the teacher, the wisdom, and the guidance that you need to learn at this time of the year. And that is very, very, very exciting and very, very, just very cool. So here's some tips. I'm going to give you a couple of little things. So incense that day, you want to burn some pine, you want to burn some sage, or you want to burn some sweetgrass. Those are the incense. And then for food, you want to prepare pies, fruit, nut bread, smoked roast poultry, bean soup, dark fruity beverage. And a dark fruity beverage. I'm going to actually, this will be up on your screen in just a minute. And I'm going to, or if it's not there already, it will be there. But it will be, and there's some gems that you want to use, some herbs, the animals, the deities. They're all described in this little pamphlet of Mabon. And then we're off to the new year. Halloween, October 31st, Saban. Is going to be amazing. I am so excited. It's my first ever Halloween as a witch, and I'm very, very excited about that, and I can't wait for you guys to be excited about it, and I can't wait for you to see what's in store for us. I want to apologize for this video being late this week because of my illness. I've been sick, and you can still hear it in my lungs, but it's getting a lot better. And I didn't have COVID. I had just a cold, and it turned into like a walking pneumonia type thing, and then it's just blah. And when you have that kind of luck, it just becomes disgusting and yucky, and you just want to fall off the face of the earth. So I'm sorry this is late, and we're gonna get another video up this week. I'm hoping this week, by the weekend, anyways. To make up for the week I was very sick. And then next week, we're going to have a video that's going to be on the weekend. It will be Saturday. Wait a minute. It won't be Saturday. It will be Sunday of next week. So it will be... Sorry, hang on. So this week we're trying to get it. We're going to try to get a video up for you on the weekend, which will be the 20th, just before Mabon, which is Monday, and then there won't be another video until the 27th. The 27th will be the next video, and then we'll go back to the 30th, which will be the regular Wednesday, and then we'll shoot for Wednesdays from that point on. Until Halloween week. Actually, no. Halloween week will be a normal week because Halloween is on a Saturday. And then it looks like everything else is on a Wednesday. So we're good. So we'll make sure the videos are out on Wednesday. And if you please, 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 please tell your friends, your family, and your neighbors that I have this channel. And help me get to 100. It would I would love you to death if we can get to 100. I'm at 12 subscribers right now, but I really, really need to get to 100. Because once we get to 100, we can do a lot more with this channel, and we can do a lot more interactive with you and me, and we can actually do a lot of more stuff. So help me get to 100. Tell your friends, tell your family, subscribe today. Hit the bell for notifications if you want to get new videos each week. And otherwise, you know, just help me hit subscribe. That's all you gotta do is hit subscribe. I'm Ernest D. Cornish. This has been Witch in the City. Thank you so much for being here. And I hope that you enjoy your Book of Shadows, and I hope that you start journaling and doing your Book of Shadows today. And just be proud of it. Okay. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.